No one could handle the rich kids. But the new nanny had a secret trick. The morning sun poured like gold and silk over the sprawling mansion, its marble walls glowing with wealth and privilege. But behind those gleaming glass windows, something darker lingered: chaos. Every nanny who had stepped through those doors had walked out in tears, defeated, broken, and humiliated. The two children who lived inside, Leo and Serafina, heirs to a vast fortune, were not like ordinary children. They were loud, wild, defiant, and seemingly untouchable. A dozen nannies had come and gone, their stories whispered in hushed tones, of priceless art used for target practice and tantrums that shook the sterile, perfect rooms. It seemed nothing and no one could control them, until one morning when a woman named Amelia arrived at the mansion. She didn't look extraordinary. She wore simple clothes, carried a modest bag, and walked with the quiet confidence of someone who had seen storms before. No one believed she would last even an hour. Yet Amelia carried with her a secret trick, one not of force or punishment, but of something far more powerful. Backhand index pointing right: if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power to change hearts, don't forget to like this video. Share it with someone who needs hope and subscribe for more life-changing stories. Your support helps us bring more light to the world every week. At first sight, Amelia was met with mocking laughter. Leo, with his father's defiant glare, stood with his arms crossed. "How long do you think you'll last?" he sneered. "My record is 3 days." His sister, Serafina, watched from an armchair, not even looking up. Their father, a sharp businessman, saw them as underperforming investments. Their mother, distant and exhausted, had long withdrawn from the daily battles. For too long, the house had echoed with the sound of shattering glass instead of laughter, chaos instead of calm. Amelia observed everything silently. She didn't rush, she didn't scold. Instead, she knelt down and simply looked at them. Really looked. She saw past the designer clothes and the rehearsed defiance. She saw two children living in a gilded cage, surrounded by things but starved of connection. Amelia said nothing. Her silence, her calm eyes, her warm presence unsettled them in a way shouting never had. For the first time, they paused. That pause was Amelia's secret. The first test came quickly. Leo, accidentally, spilled a pitcher of bright red juice all over a priceless white rug. The staff froze, expecting an explosion. But Amelia didn't shout. She just knelt, blotted the stain, and said softly, "Oops. That's a big spill. I'm going to need some help." Leo, expecting a lecture, was so thrown off he found himself on his hands and knees, dabbing at the stain beside her. Over the next days, Amelia faced more storms. Leo tested her limits, tracking mud across the clean marble floors. Serafina threw tantrums, refusing to go to her lessons. The household staff shook their heads. Surely Amelia would leave soon like all the others. Yet she didn't. Amelia's secret trick wasn't magic, but patience. Instead of fighting fire with fire, she watered it with calmness, love, and creativity. She turned chores into games. She transformed demands into adventures. When Leo refused to put on his shoes for fencing, Amelia sat on the floor beside him. "All right," she whispered like a co-conspirator. "Here's the situation. Your father expects to see you ready. How do we do this? Do we put on our shoes like ninjas, so quiet no one can hear? Or like astronauts preparing for a moonwalk to the car?" For the first time, Leo felt like a participant in his own life, not a puppet. He chose ninjas. Slowly, Leo and Serafina began to change. Their energy was still wild, but Amelia redirected it, like a river guided by gentle banks. One afternoon, Serafina, frustrated with her cello lesson, refused to play. The tutor grew angry, but Amelia stepped in. She sat beside Serafina and said, "That note sounds angry. Let's forget the notes on the page. How would you play the feeling of being bored? How would you play a secret happy feeling?" Slowly, Serafina began to play, not the correct music, but her music. She wasn't performing anymore, she was expressing herself. The parents began noticing the changes. Breakfasts no longer ended in shattered plates. The halls echoed with playful laughter instead of angry cries. The father, who once walked through the mansion with weary disappointment, now stood still, astonished at the sight of his children playing. For the first time, the mansion looked like a home. Then came a moment that sealed everything. The family was hosting a grand charity gala in their garden. The parents dreaded embarrassment, remembering countless public scenes before. But to everyone's astonishment, Leo and Serafina behaved with warmth and charm. Then, they saw a little girl, a guest's daughter, crying silently in a corner, overwhelmed by the crowd. What happened next stunned everyone. The old Leo would have laughed. The old Serafina would have ignored her. But this time, Leo walked over, knelt down, and said softly, "It's loud in here. I don't like it much either." Serafina joined him and offered the girl a small, smooth, worry stone she'd found in the garden. "You can hold this," she said. "When you feel scared, you just rub it with your thumb." They didn't solve the problem with a distraction, they solved it with empathy. From across the room, their parents watched, speechless. They weren't watching their assets perform, they were watching their children be kind. Later that night, the father found Amelia. His voice was thick with emotion. "How did you do this? Every professional failed. What is your secret?" Amelia looked at him, her answer simple yet powerful: "Children don't need control, they need connection. Discipline without love is fear, but love with boundaries is freedom." The father, a man who built empires with numbers and contracts, stood speechless before the truth of her words. As weeks passed, the children transformed. They were learning to channel their fire into light. Their parents learned, too, canceling meetings to be home for dinner, choosing to be present instead of powerful. Amelia didn't just tame their children. She healed their home. She gave them back something they didn't even realize they'd lost. Love. Amelia's secret trick was never punishment, never power. It was something simple yet forgotten in the race for wealth and success: patience, presence, and unconditional love. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please support us by liking this video, sharing it with friends, and subscribing. Every click helps us spread more hope and kindness in a world that needs it. Speech balloon. And before you go, I have a special request. Speech balloon, comment below with one lesson you learned from Amelia's story. We'd love to hear your thoughts. As the sun rose over the mansion the next morning, the sound of laughter filled the air. Leo and Serafina raced across the grass, their parents watching from the doorway. The father, once a man of business, now a man rediscovering joy, realized the truth. Money could buy walls, servants, and luxury, but it was kindness, patience, and love that turned a house into a home. And so the story of the rich kids reminds us all, sometimes the greatest power doesn't come from control, but from compassion. And sometimes the greatest heroes don't wear capes, they simply heal hearts with nothing more than love.